Hi everyone, in this video, how to learn faster, a master overview of the best practices for accelerated learning. You can train your mind to go deeper and to understand new knowledge more fully. You can retain new information and have more detailed insights readily available if you learn how to learn better. With these new capabilities, you will be able to work faster, develop more powerful insights, and better apply your thinking. The shift can be dramatic. Others will notice and new opportunities will open up to you. Being able to develop and express more profound thinking will change your life. It's common for people to hit a learning plateau at various stages of life, capping their knowledge progression and slowing or stopping their mental growth. I'm sure you've seen people who have simply stopped expanding their minds. At a certain stage of life, they merely aged at that same intellectual level. A person can plateau and become stuck there for the rest of their lives. Continual learning is available to everyone at remarkably little cost. The only requirement is a desire to learn and some effort to dig in. Once that commitment is made, learning how to learn most effectively will be a force multiplier on all of your learning efforts, delivering more and more mental horsepower at a faster and faster rate. Learning compounds. So here we're exploring how to dial up the leverage on your efforts to learn. And just as choosing to be a lifelong learner is a choice available to everyone, choosing to be a power learner with massive learning leverage is an equally available and equally free capability available to all. On this channel, we explore creating systems in our lives to perform better and achieve what matters most to each of us. Power learning is at the heart of this mission. It's a massive force multiplier, making every other action you take more effective and higher impact. It's a keystone skill. So let's dive in. The first step of learning effectively and learning efficiently is question framing. This is asking better questions up front and asking the right questions to set the learning in the most clear direction. Why do you want to learn this skill? What will this skill or knowledge enable? Write out the questions and ideas that you want to learn up front. This makes the learning more deliberate, intentional, and therefore more efficient. Handwriting them on paper is best. Then use the paper pad or notebook to jot out ideas you're playing with. Use bullet points, diagrams, and mind map style layouts on the page. This is exploration time. Shift to the digital tools for summarizing once you've zeroed in on the most important takeaways. Second, as you read, turn information into notes. Then turn the notes into knowledge. This is the essence of personal knowledge management systems, also known as PKM. Capture all ideas, information, and insight you encounter in research on a topic in a single place. This is your digital knowledge management platform, such as the Notion PPV vaults we've discussed earlier on this channel, or another setup in Notion, or any modern digital platform. Build a notes and ideas super collider and smash them together. My PPV vaults system in Notion is optimized for this. Establish a system in Notion or in any other digital knowledge management platform. Watch the new ideas accumulate and knowledge pile up in designated places in digital containers, such as the knowledge vaults we've discussed previously. Then apply that knowledge and insight across your life in various forms of expression or creation. These are core ingredients for new thinking and learning. Third, take action in some form with the knowledge and information. You will dramatically enhance your grasp and retention of it. It will also shape a multi-dimensional comprehension of it. We can do this through a physical expression of the knowledge. I recommend a less rigid and more adaptable variation on the Feynman technique. The essence of the Feynman technique is explaining in your own words and simplifying, potentially repeating this process over a few iterations. We can explain or express what we're learning in several ways. You can use a combination of them. The first option is to diagram or mind map. I'll show examples of this in a moment. Or you can write it out in your own words, simplifying the explanation to the extent possible. Or you can explain verbally or teach in your own words, again, simplifying it as you explain the principles. And of course, along the way, adding all of this new insight to your knowledge vault or PKM system, using your own phrasing. Here's some examples of how taking action with the knowledge would look in practice. This is how one might apply this approach to the topic of learning how to learn better, the subject of this video. One approach is to draw a diagram. So here's an example of how to diagram this concept of learning how to learn. So there's a great article on the Teacherhead blog that's written by Tom Sherrington, and it diagrams this idea of learning. And you can see how the idea of being in a certain environment, pulling elements out of that environment, goes into working memory, your learning goes into long-term memory, but it will be forgotten and fall out of the loop if you don't bring it back into the remembering stage and into your working memory and then store it in long-term and then re-access it and bring it back in. So this gives you a visual depiction. So as you're learning, if you can sketch something like this out, you're going to retain it and understand it in its nuances much better. And then as you diagram that, you'll add notes and descriptions around it, laying this out visually on the page. It's going to really help it stick better. It's going to help reveal where you're struggling and where you have clarity, and then it's going to embed it deeper in you, having physically drawn this out. So that's one example of diagramming. So here's another example. This one is of a mind map. So this is depicting the Feynman technique itself, more literally. But the key insight here is how it is drawn as a mind map. So you got the central definition of the thing, Feynman himself, and then you've got the core principles, and then you've got sub-principles branching out from there, and it creates a beautiful visual depiction. Having a visual depiction makes it easier to re-access later, to remember it, to go into the file system of your mind and retrieve it as needed more visually. And just the act of literally drawing it out by hand on paper is how I'd recommend it. And that's going to give you that visceral depiction that's also going to help embed it within your mind, and it's going to force you to understand it from multiple angles as you draw it in its multiple branches. In addition to drawing diagrams and mind maps, of course, you can write it out in your own words. So this topic of this video is learning how to learn better. So I have written it out here. This is my writing of my research. As I've researched and tried to articulate my understanding of the topic, I have written it out in these words here. And this turned into a script, it's into the blog article. But the act of having written it out in my own words makes it embedded within me in a much deeper level. It also revealed ways in which I didn't quite understand things and had to go back and learn again. If my expression was overly complex or hard to articulate, I saw right then and there my understanding wasn't good enough and I had to study it more. I had to work on my understanding and therefore my phrasing and expression of it. And that just helped me learn it better. And then third, verbally explaining the new knowledge, either live or for a recording. I am in fact using this method at this very moment as I speak, not only sharing with you how to learn better, but myself learning how to learn better by articulating it in this video. And fourth, we can introduce variability to our exposure and interaction with the new material. This further embeds it in our minds and broadens our ability to access and apply the insights in more circumstances. One way is to vary the pacing, to do it faster and or to go slower. We can speak faster, we can draw faster. Mistakes and sloppiness are okay. It activates your brain slightly differently. Then do it slower. As you add to your notes, you can insert subcategories into the structure to change the pacing. Break it into pieces, organize the smaller pieces, and then change it up. Additionally, we can change our physical location or setting. Revisit and practice in a second and third location, perpetually changing the environment where you engage with the information. Context variability forms deeper, stronger brain connections that are less dependent on the original setting. It also enables you to apply it in new and unexpected ways, as the changing context sparks a wider range of potential thoughts to connect with the new material. Keep modifying the setting. And there's distributed practice, also known as spaced repetition. Learning is not a single act of studying or even practicing. It's doing so continuously, but to do so most effectively, it needs to have time gaps in between the engagement on the topic. Time for it to coalesce in your mind and to spread out the exposure. Continually revisiting the material and the concepts embeds it and builds the brain pathways that make it a part of your long-term memory. Revisiting it with variances in the perspectives and use cases broadens your understanding and comprehension. Spacing out the exposure to the various perspectives and use cases and tangential concepts gives it time for each to be explored fully. Then settle in as you reflect on it later, doing other activities. Coming back deepens the brain pathways that hold it. Repeated exposure makes it stick. Fifth, a powerful way to learn more faster and deeper is to explore multiple related topics at roughly the same time. Jump around between them, connect the dots, and look for overlap. You can either do the topics in parallel, hopping between them, or you can study them one, then the other, then the next in sequence. They will reinforce and enhance your understanding of each of them. This is consistent with the systems thinking approach that we emphasize on this channel, examining the other systems that your system is a part of. Exploring and learning related areas, either in parallel or one after another, will deepen your memory and mental reference points to access the new information and ideas. This approach is known as interleaving. Interleaving, as opposed to blocking, ensures that the practice of any particular skill is distributed or spaced because any two opportunities to practice the same task are not consecutive. Spaced learning enhances internalization and neuroplasticity, which is how the brain strengthens and connects and enables stickiness of the new concepts. Interleaving facilitates your ability to differentiate between concepts or skills. Instead of rote memorization, you truly learn its nuances and variances, able to apply it and adapt it as needed to new thinking, rather than merely regurgitating it. You also understand its elements instead of just seeing it as a single cohesive block. Instead of building muscle memory, you learn to apply it dynamically in a variety of situations. All of these are essentially the active application of knowledge, or practice, under a diverse variety of conditions. That is how we learn best. And finally, sixth, to enhance the effectiveness of all these activities, it's essential that you are getting sufficient sleep. During sleep, the brain digests and processes much of what it has been exposed to during the day. While sleeping, it solidifies into formats accessible later on. Getting proper sleep ensures that your brain will do this processing as fully as possible, delivering you more access and insight from what you ingested earlier in the day. Full nights of sleep and naps both serve this purpose. Numerous studies have consistently demonstrated this role of sleep in memory and knowledge formation. Sleep deprivation, on the other hand, is the enemy of learning and internalizing what you've been exposed to. So through this whole 6-point list, you can see several patterns here. Reframe what you're learning by using your active, engaged mind in either your own words or your own visualization. Force yourself to restate the ideas you've been newly exposed to with your own expression. Introduce variability to how you are consuming and re-expressing the new ideas and information. And ensure that your health is optimal for learning, starting with rest and extending into other aspects of energy optimization. We will explore many of these in future videos. With these conditions in place, you will be a power learner. As you compound knowledge and share insights with the world, opportunities will open up and you will connect dots that you never even knew existed. In upcoming videos on this channel, we will continue to explore learning and enhancing our ability to perform and optimize our lives. I have been building a team of remarkable people so that I can focus more energy with more support to create these videos and newsletter essays more frequently and with greater research. I am incredibly excited about the next stage of our journey here. If this is of interest, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get updates on future videos. And please hit like if you found this video valuable. Leave thoughts or questions below, or join us in the Notion Life Design course to explore these topics more extensively. That's all at notionlifedesign.com. I also write the Life Design newsletter on increasing human capability. I give away several of my best Notion templates to anyone who subscribes to the free newsletter. The newsletter link is also below in the show notes. Thanks for watching. Lots more to come.